Are you tired of your drab listening routine? Do you wake up every day and listen to the same one podcast, just wondering where you're going wrong? Boy, do I have a solution for you. This year, more than ever, I really realized that I am more of a listening and speaking-based learner than anything else. So that means, I'm not the biggest bookworm. Writing bores the crap out of me sometimes, and that's okay. Listening can be kind of daunting if you feel already like it's not your best skill or if you're not doing it in the most efficient way. So today I thought I would talk about the 4 fundamentals plus 2 extras of listening. This is Listening 101. Welcome, I am Professor De Vega, and today we're going to talk about how to use your ears. So let's just get right into it. So the first 2 are so basic, I feel like I don't even have to talk your ear off about them. The first one, you have to listen every day. You gotta do it. If we're talking about sharpening your listening skills, you have to commit to at least listening every single day, whether it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. I feel like ideally 30 minutes is a perfect amount of time. If you listen to a podcast or watch a video, maybe part of a TV episode every single day, for 30 minutes, that's 10,000 minutes by the end of the year. That's like 200 hours, and absorption is real. And this even counts for passive listening too. So if you're listening while you do chores, while you wash dishes, babysit your sister's kids, practice cartwheels, I don't care. Listening is not just about meaning. Listening is not just about capturing every single word. And depending on the language, there's a lot of other things to be absorbed as well. So whether it be like pitch accent or a cadence or filler words, like there are a ton of other things to be absorbed besides meaning. You don't have to capture every single word. And I feel like that's where we go wrong with listening, thinking that it has to be just for meaning and understanding every single thing. That's where, I feel like that's where a lot of anxiety comes from in language learning. Like, I have to understand it. You don't have to understand every single thing. Which brings me to my next very basic fundamental. I feel like this is the oldest one in the book, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Don't try to understand every single word. Look for the big picture. The amount of energy that you spend panicking over not understanding every single word, this is like a law of physics, okay? The amount of energy you spend panicking over obsessing over every word is probably equal or even greater to the amount of energy that you could use just getting the big picture. So relax, close your eyes, put in your headphones, and focus on what's happening here. Even if you just understand the topic, that's an achievement. Even if you understand just the basic stance of what they're talking about, whether they're for or against it, that's an achievement. So be patient with yourself. Allow yourself to come from top down rather than bottom up. God, this sounds so sexual. I'm sorry. And those are the basic 2. I feel like we've heard those from a lot of other people before, but the next 2 ones I'm really excited to talk about because I think that, they're not things that just occurred to me and then I started to enforce them. It was things that I was already naturally doing, and then I realized, hey, that's a feature of my listening routine that's really, really important and really beneficial. Balancing content. Okay, what do I mean by this? I'm talking about choosing resources and choosing content that allows you to have functional learning, but also immersion. So, 2 different fields here. Functional learning is content that is more appropriate to your level. So I'm talking about stuff that you basically understand. Maybe it's because the people are speaking slower, maybe it's because they're speaking clearer, and it's really not how natives would speak. So for example, let's take my German learning, for example, that would be Easy German because I feel that they speak a lot clearer because it is a material that is specifically designed for learning. But by immersion, I just mean like content that is basically designed for native speakers' consumption. So I'm talking about late night shows, music, documentaries, TV, all that stuff where they're speaking completely normal and completely fast, at a normal speed. Because you want to have resources and you want to have content that is going to allow you to constantly progress and learn new things, but you also do not want to forget the end goal, because why are we here on this planet learning languages in the first place? Human connection. Thank you. And I understand that can be a super source of anxiety because it can be super discouraging to feel, great, I just learned this thing, and then go back to immersion and see oh wait, that's what I have to live up to eventually. But like I said, human connection. You want to be a part of, the pop culture of the language. You want to be, up to date on current events that are happening in the world of your language that you're learning. So the last fundamental I want to talk about is accent work. Wait, please do not close this video. I know that this is such a big source of anxiety for a lot of people because, who wants to have an accent? I sure don't. Some people don't care, but for other people it can be a really big source of insecurity. So I understand if this is not a priority for you, but let me reason with you. With every single language that I've started, I always made it a really, really big point at the beginning to do a lot of accent training and a lot of dictation and stuff like that. Because it always came from a source of oh, but I don't want I don't want to be that person, you know, from the United States that has a really detectable, like, United States accent. But after a while, I started to realize that it was really, really easy for me to speak, and it was really easy for me to listen because of that. Because essentially, you know, if you have a trained ear, you're just listening to yourself talk after a while. If you do a lot of accent work and a lot of accent training, it's, you know, really reassuring because you don't have to work so hard to understand other people because you've already heard all of these sounds come out of your own mouth, if that makes sense. There's a couple of significant things that I do to constantly train my accent. Of course, the number one would be talking to myself. I'm such a self-talker thanks to my mom. My mom used to just talk to herself a lot, and then I would always be like, Mom, who are you talking to? And she's, nothing, I'm talking to myself. So now that's who I am in my language learning, I guess. So much, dude. In the shower, like when I'm putting on makeup, when I'm cooking, I will have full-blown conversations with myself, and I'm not ashamed. Also talking about just reading articles out loud for dictation purposes. Ooh, something that I love doing is taking a podcast and pausing it after every sentence and just repeating what the person or the people say. Mimicry. Proven science. Parrots. You're just gonna ignore that evidence? Everybody loves parrots. But for real, you don't even have to understand what they're saying in the podcast to just be able to repeat it and get used to speaking a certain way. So those were the 4 fundamentals by Professor De Vega's definition, but I also have 2 kind of extra tips that I wanted to mention because I really don't think they warrant their own video, but they're very, very important if we're talking about listening. Listen with the transcript or listen with lyrics. This kind of counts as like training wheels of listening, but it can be so beneficial to see the words first and then be able to recognize them afterwards. I do this all the time where I'll listen to a podcast and then I have the transcript and just read it as I go down. And then at the end of the day, I'll probably listen to the podcast episode again without the transcript because I already know what it's about. Having a transcript gives you all of the control because, you know, you can already see, like, you know, when people are going to talk over each other and you can see the filler words. It kind of just gives you the jump on listening. If you need training wheels, that's okay. And the second little tip that I wanted to talk about is maybe transcribing the podcast yourself. Now, this is probably, I would say it's most recommended if you have the official transcript. So let's say if you subscribe to a podcast and they send you the transcript every week, you can compare them after you transcribe it yourself. This is something that I do with Easy German, so I'll maybe do like 2 pages at a time because, like, for some reason I thought transcribing was going to be like such a light task, but it turns out people talk a lot in podcasts, so maybe 3 minutes worth is literally 2 pages, and it's just like, oh my god, people talk so much. And you know, you don't have to get every single word. Sometimes I will literally just leave an underscore or like a blank if I don't get it, or, you know, I'll write something that I obviously know is not the right answer and then just come back to it later. So it can just be like a really good way to kind of correct what you think you hear and then be like, oh no, it was this. Oh my god, what are those people called that like they type in courtrooms, for the record? Stenographers. I have such a bigger respect for stenographers after transcribing podcasts for language learning because I realized that like natural forms of communication are so chaotic. People use so many filler words. They say and they, I don't know, sometimes people just like say half a sentence and then start saying something completely different. It's such a chaotic process, but it's so fun and it can be so good for your listening. Why is there no national holiday for stenographers? Jesus. Stenographers, I salute you. Anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk about listening. That was my 2 cents, or I guess you could say my 6 cents. The 6th sense.
I see dead people.
I see dead people. Such a good movie. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please comment down below any other listening tips you have because we are all here to mingle, help each other listen better, help each other to succeed. You can follow me on my social media if you want to. Nobody's pressuring you, but I will leave them right here. That's ELYSSESPEAKS. See you soon and happy listening. Bye.